A field researcher is sitting at the edge of a forest clearing. She has been coming to the same spot, at the same time, every single day for 3 weeks. She brings no food. She makes no sudden movements. She doesn't reach out. She doesn't make direct eye contact. She simply sits and waits. For 3 weeks, the monkey troop watches her from a distance. Some ignore her. Some display mild agitation when she gets too close. The dominant individuals keep their position between her and the group. Then, on day 22, something changes. A mid-ranking female breaks away from the group, walks toward the researcher, sits down approximately 2 meters away, and begins grooming herself, casually, unhurried, as if the researcher has always been part of the landscape. Nothing dramatic, no sudden moment of connection, no reaching out, just a monkey deciding after 22 days of careful observation that this particular human had finally passed some invisible test. The researcher later said she didn't fully understand what had changed that day, but the science, it turns out, has a very precise answer. Welcome to Primal Mind. Trust is one of the most complex phenomena in all of social psychology. In humans, we study it, write about it, build institutions around it, and still struggle to fully explain how it works. We know it takes time. We know it can be broken in an instant. We know it is not rational in the simple sense. It involves emotion, pattern recognition, and something deeper than conscious calculation. What most people never consider is that trust, real, functional, behaviorally measurable trust, did not begin with human civilization. It began in the primate brain, millions of years before language, before law, before any of the social structures humans built to manage it. And monkeys, it turns out, have one of the most sophisticated trust systems in the animal kingdom, a system built from the ground up by evolution, precise, cautious, and remarkably difficult to earn. Today, we are going to break down exactly how that system works, what monkeys are actually measuring when they decide whether to trust a human, and what the exact moment of trust, when it finally arrives, looks like from the inside. Before we can understand how monkeys extend trust, we need to understand what trust means in a primate context. For humans, trust is largely about intention. We trust people we believe mean well, people whose motivations we feel we understand. We give benefit of the doubt. We extend trust speculatively, sometimes before it has been earned, because social life requires it. Monkeys do not work this way. For a primate living in a complex, hierarchical social group surrounded by potential competitors, predators, and uncertain resources, extending trust speculatively is a survival risk. Every unfamiliar individual represents an unknown quantity. Unknown quantities are potential threats. And in the animal world, the cost of misplacing trust is not social embarrassment. It can be significantly higher. So monkey trust is not based on intention. It is based entirely on behavioral evidence, on a track record, on a pattern of actions accumulated over time that allows the animal to make a reliable prediction about what this individual will do next. A monkey does not decide to trust you because you seem nice. It decides to trust you because you have demonstrated repeatedly, consistently over an extended period that you are predictable, that your behavior follows a pattern it can model, that you do not represent a source of surprise, threat, or unpredictability. Predictability is the currency of primate trust, and earning it takes longer than most people expect. Here is where it becomes genuinely fascinating. Monkeys are not passively waiting for trust to develop. They are actively running a continuous evaluation, a real-time assessment of every interaction, every behavioral signal, every pattern of presence and absence, and updating their internal model of you accordingly. Researchers who have spent extended periods integrating into wild primate groups describe a remarkably consistent process. In the early stages, the animals observe from a distance. They note your body posture, your gaze behavior, whether you make direct eye contact, which in primate body language can signal dominance or aggression, or whether you avert your gaze appropriately, your movement patterns. Sudden movements signal threat. Slow, predictable movements signal safety. They note whether your behavior is consistent, whether you appear the same each time you arrive, whether your presence is associated with neutral outcomes, no competition for resources, no disruption of social dynamics, no unpredictable intrusions into their personal space. Every visit is a data point. Every interaction updates the model, and the model is building toward a single question. Can I predict what this individual will do? Because if I can predict you, if your behavior follows a reliable pattern, then you are manageable. And manageable is the first step toward safe. Safe is the first step toward trust. What exactly are monkeys measuring during this evaluation period? The answer reveals just how sophisticated their social perception actually is. Gaze is primary. In primate social communication, eye contact carries enormous weight. Direct, sustained eye contact from an unfamiliar individual reads as a challenge, a dominance signal. Experienced researchers learn to avert their gaze when near a new group, looking slightly downward or to the side, communicating non-threat through the same visual language the animals use with each other. Body orientation matters. Turning slightly sideways rather than facing an animal directly signals that you are not approaching in a confrontational posture. Keeping your body relaxed rather than tense signals that you are not preparing for action. Proximity management is critical. Moving too close too quickly collapses the animal safety buffer before trust has been established. But maintaining a respectful, consistent distance and allowing the animal to control the space between you communicates that you understand and respect the social boundaries of their world, and perhaps most importantly, responds to stress signals. If a monkey shows signs of discomfort and you immediately create more distance, you are communicating something crucial, that you read their signals and that you respond to them. This is the behavioral foundation of empathy, and monkeys notice it. Every one of these signals feeds into the trust evaluation, and when the assessment finally tips, when the accumulated evidence reaches whatever internal threshold the animal requires, something shifts. So what does the exact moment of trust actually look like? It is almost never dramatic. This surprises people. They expect a clear, visible moment of connection. What actually happens is far more subtle and far more meaningful. The first reliable signal is proximity tolerance. The animal allows you to be closer than it previously permitted and stays. It does not display stress signals. It does not move away. It simply remains in your presence at a distance it would not have allowed before. The second signal is behavioral normalization. The animal begins engaging in its normal activities, feeding, grooming, resting, while you are present. This is significant because these are all vulnerable behaviors that require relaxed attention. An animal that forages or rests near you is an animal that has removed you from its threat calculation entirely. The third signal, and the most meaningful, is social inclusion. The animal begins to treat you as a known quantity within its social environment. It may position itself near you during group tensions. It may orient towards you when startled, checking your reaction as a reference point for how to interpret an ambiguous situation. It is, in the most literal sense, using you as a source of social information, the way it would use a trusted group member. These three signals, proximity tolerance, behavioral normalization, and social inclusion, are the behavioral architecture of primate trust. And when all three are present, something remarkable has occurred. You have passed a cognitive evaluation that took millions of years of social evolution to design. Understanding how trust is earned makes it immediately clear why it is so difficult, and why losing it is so catastrophic. The monkey's trust system is calibrated for caution because the cost of misplaced trust in the wild is high. Every positive interaction moves the needle slightly, but a single negative experience, a sudden movement, a direct stare at the wrong moment, an intrusion into personal space before the relationship is ready for it, can reset the evaluation to 0, or worse, tip it into the negative zone, where the animal now has active evidence against you rather than simply insufficient evidence for you. Researchers who have inadvertently broken trust with a primate group describe the experience as starting over completely, except harder, because now there's a specific negative data point in the animal's behavioral record of you. Neutral presence is recoverable. Negative experience requires active rehabilitation. This asymmetry, trust builds slowly, breaks quickly, is not unique to monkeys. It is a fundamental feature of primate social cognition, and it is one of the most recognizable patterns in human psychology as well. Here is the thought that should sit with you. Everything we have described today, the behavioral evaluation, the pattern recognition, the sensitivity to gaze and body language and consistency, the slow accumulation of evidence, the catastrophic speed of trust collapse, is not unique to monkeys. It is the operating system of the primate social brain, your brain, running right now in every relationship you have. When you feel uneasy about someone whose behavior is inconsistent, whose body language doesn't match their words, who seems unpredictable, you are running the same evaluation the monkey runs. When a friendship deepens gradually, almost imperceptibly, over months of shared experience and consistent behavior, that is the same trust threshold being crossed. When a single betrayal undoes years of goodwill in an instant, that is the same asymmetric system at work. We did not invent trust, we inherited it from a lineage of social primates who needed to solve the same problem we still face every day. Who is safe? Who is reliable? Who can I allow into my world? The monkey sitting 2 meters from that researcher on day 22 had answered that question. Not with words, not with conscious deliberation, but with the full weight of an ancient cognitive system that evolution spent millions of years refining. It decided to trust, and in doing so, it revealed something true about all of us. The researcher who sat at the edge of that clearing for 22 days didn't do anything extraordinary. She showed up. She was consistent. She was predictable. She respected the animal signals and responded to them honestly. And eventually, the monkey's evaluation reached its conclusion. What this tells us is something quietly profound. Trust, in monkeys, in humans, in any social primate, is not a feeling. It is a verdict. The output of a careful, patient, evidence-based process that cannot be rushed, cannot be faked, and cannot be shortcut. It takes as long as it takes. It requires exactly what it requires. And when it finally arrives, in a forest clearing or in a human relationship, it looks almost the same in both places. Someone deciding based on everything they have observed that you are safe enough to stay near. Stay curious. Stay primal.